That is it. My friend Guy.
Hey, how's it
I
going?
am so excited to have you on our show today. Really looking forward to this. So thanks for taking the time.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
You know.
Awesome. Just so people have an idea of who this guy is, why don't you just give a little bit about yourself, starting with your full name?
Sure. My name is Guy Kim Nguyen. My credit card number is. I'm sorry. Are we not doing that? No.
Yeah, no, you don't have to give the credit card today.
No. My background. I'm a Vietnamese. So it's a Vietnamese heritage. My parents came over during the Vietnam War.
Oh, wow.
First generation. Was born and raised in Wichita Falls. Came over to the DFW for schooling. Graduated with my master's at UT Dallas. Worked a whole bunch. Did a whole bunch. And then
Yeah, you got the entrepreneurial spirit. You've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's been a fun ride. I think I've been blessed with boredom. I think of boredom.
Blessed with boredom.
Blessed
Nice.
with boredom, because I think if I wasn't always bored, I wouldn't always find new things to do.
Yeah.
And I always just was curious and just picked up new things and always just kept running with it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, tell everybody about your family.
Yeah, so my mom and dad got married while they were in Vietnam, and my dad was a super smart dude. He had enough paperwork to be a lawyer. During the Vietnam War, he had to leave all of his paperwork behind, like everything.
Oh, no.
So when he crossed over with my mom, he lost everything, and he became a factory worker here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, what a shift.
It's a shift,
So having done enough school to be a lawyer and then starting to become a factory worker in another country where you probably don't speak the language.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't understand that until I guess I got older, and I didn't truly respect what he went through
Yeah.
for his family.
What a sacrifice.
It is a super sacrifice. Imagine like being the best, kind of like
Yeah.
somewhere, and then you go somewhere and you're like nothing just because of a language barrier.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying factory work is nothing, but it's like
No,
you went through all
but
the schooling,
yeah, you didn't go to 6 years of college to
work in a factory.
work in a factory. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got a family. So tell us about that.
So I've been blessed. I'm married.
How long have you been married?
8 years.
Okay.
Yes, 8 years.
8 years and 12 kids.
And 12,000 no, and then and two boys. I'm blessed with two boys, a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old.
That's awesome. So you're in the thick of it.
Yes.
All right.
I love it.
So when I think dad mode, I think of you, right? And there's really kind of, two sides. The beauty of being a dad is you had a dad.
Yeah.
And just hearing about your dad and what he went through. And I think the realization that you couldn't have possibly understood what he went through until you were older.
Yes.
Right? There's just no way.
No way. And it took me a lot to understand the culture of when he was, born and raised in Vietnam, that the dads there, they didn't have relationships with their sons.
Oh, really?
It was almost like it was more of a mom's job to build a relationship.
Okay.
So growing up, he wasn't like there for us. Wasn't like nurturing. He didn't care what we did. It was just kind of like, all right, you've kind of figured it out. And
Yeah.
It was very tough, very like, the stereotype of Asians with their parents. Totally true.
Okay.
Totally true growing
So
up.
the tiger mom, or whatever that is.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's the equivalent of dad, which is
He just worked. All he did was work. And then he was not there.
Yeah.
And, I think growing up, and then especially in the American culture, you're around, their dads and their parents being around stuff. So you're like, oh my gosh. And you kind of, as you're younger, you just didn't know.
you noticed.
Yeah, you noticed, but you didn't realize why their dads did this and your dad did that, or they weren't around.
Interesting.
Like, when I wanted to play soccer, for example, my parents didn't want me to play soccer, and I forged my mom's signature on the soccer papers just so I could play soccer.
Okay.
And then when I bought my first cleats, I worked at a Foot Action. I don't even know if they even still have those anymore, but a Foot Action foot store.
Yeah, I remember.
I bought my own cleats.
Oh, wow.
So I was able to pay for my own cleats
Nice.
and play soccer, but my parents have no idea. Even to this day, they have no idea that I played soccer for high
Really?
school. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
Varsity soccer, too.
Yeah.
They never went to any games. Like, parents never went to any of my tennis games, swimming tournament, competitions, soccer games.
So you were self-motivated.
Yeah, and I think all of us were. Me and my siblings, we we just kind of, and because there was a language barrier, we couldn't go to them for any type of help. Like we filled out our own FAFSAs.
Oh,
For
really?
college.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, we all had to fill out our own FAFSAs. We went to school. We went to college. We went to work.
Yeah.
At the same time, we went to college the whole time.
So it's kind of interesting because at first I was hearing you talk and I'm thinking, well, obviously you want to do some things different than what you were raised, but like how independent you are because of all of that also is like a benefit.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the irony of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like you want to shield your kids from going through all this stuff, but because we had to go through all this stuff, it made us more independent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we faltered.
And you're super outgoing. Like, are your siblings that way as well, or no?
No,
Because that's a personality trait. But
yeah, I think it developed. And it's weird too because my dad's super opposite of me. He's super introvert. He's super like nothing like you. But once I got to get to know him, I could see where my comedy comes from. He's a pretty funny guy.
Yeah.
But he was just more of an introvert. But I think my personality came to be because I didn't want to be left behind, I guess you would say. Because I'm a small dude,
Yeah.
And then, which was interesting growing up, too, is that my mom and dad wanted us to be Americanized when we came over. So they wanted us to hang out with all the American kids.
Okay.
So we hung out with the American kids, which was cool. But then we went to the Vietnamese community would make fun of us because we were whitewashed.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So
By hanging out with the white kids.
yeah. I didn't say
Interesting.
white, but I think more like
Or they called it whitewashed.
yeah, it was whitewashed. But it was
Interesting.
like Mexicans, the blacks, and we hung out with everyone. you
Right.
know.
Right.
But it was so my Vietnamese kind of dampered because of that growing up. But then once we got older, I guess the Vietnamese kids were like, "Oh, okay, he's kind of cool.
He's cool.
It's kind of cool, So he started hanging out with me. So I think being outcasted at an early age made you become something else.
Yeah.
I used to get in fights too.
Really?
Yeah, because I grew up in Wichita Falls, Texas, so there wasn't a lot of. It was a small Vietnamase community, and there wasn't a lot of Asians at all. And I used to get made fun of, the whole ching chong, whatever, I just get in a fight.
Come on.
Come on, I was getting in a fight, and I was a little dude. I was getting in a fight, so I would fight like almost every school year. I got in at least one fight.
Really?
Yeah, so it was fun,
Would you win?
No, I never won. But the great thing was I was always a nice dude.
Yeah.
So I had a whole bunch of friends that would jump in, so I would be fighting. Another friend would jump in.
Yeah,
Another friend
there
would
you
jump
go.
In, so we'd always this group little fight.
That's hilarious. All right. So I want to talk to you about your faith for a second. So dad mode, God, grit, goals. So on the God side, you shared with me earlier that you were raised Catholic, or Catholic is your faith. So how has that influenced your role as a dad?
I was born and raised Catholic, and I think like most families that I can think of is that, the parents kind of push you into a faith, and you kind of just go, right? Every Sunday you would go, you kind of follow things, and I kind of didn't understand what it was for a long time, and then I searched for a long time when I got older. And I truly believe that you can never be found until you're lost, until you lose yourself first. So I lost myself, got in a really, big rabbit hole. And I think, but I always...
You say you lost yourself. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries, yeah.
But what does that mean?
Man, there's a time in high school where, because I'm the youngest of four.
Okay.
So my three siblings left to go to college.
Yep.
So they all went to college at the same time because we're all close in age. So they all left. It was just me in high school. And then I got with the wrong crowd, right?
Okay.
You get into drugs. They weren't even gangs, but just groups of kids.
Yep.
We do dumb stuff together on that note. And then there was a night where I was supposed to hang out with my cousin,
Yep.
younger cousin. And the same night that I was supposed to hang out with him, I didn't because I went to go do whatever dumb stuff I was. That night he committed suicide.
Oh.
And
Wow.
it was on my conscience like forever.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
And then I fell into this lostness of drugs.
Wow. Did you take... Well, that just hurt you.
Yeah. So I took a whole bunch of...
Did you feel like you had something to do with that?
Yeah, I did. Because
Wow.
I told myself, what if I showed up?
Showed up.
Showed up.
Yeah.
So then I kind of
Wow.
spiraled, and my siblings weren't there. And again, Asians, we don't talk to our parents, right? That's just
Yeah.
like taboo. It's just weird, like we don't even hug each other. Like for the longest time, we don't hug.
What do you bow?
Yeah, we kind of just.
Is that the respect?
Yeah, kind of a little bow,
Yeah.
We don't say I love you, that's kind of out of,
That's
it's
wild.
weird too. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just, so it's interesting,
Yeah.
it's interesting. So yeah, I kind of lost myself in that time period where I felt alone. So I didn't find my faith for a long time.
Okay.
But I kept going to church because of the routine that my parents instilled into me.
Interesting.
Pray,
Yeah. It was the habit.
It was just a habit. So
Yeah.
I kept doing it. So I
Which is what a nun wears, right?
yeah. So
There we go.
so that's kind of when I lost myself. And but I've always kind of dabbled into it, kind of always felt, I guess, the Holy Spirit there, but I never knew what it was.
Yep.
And a lot of potholes in my life, went down, went up, went down, went up. And then eventually, I think when I started finding my faith again was when my wife got pregnant.
Ah.
And that's when I was like, okay, we're getting kind of, serious around here. You can't make mistakes anymore.
Was that what it was? Like a wake-up call?
It was a wake-up call. And,
Yeah.
and I think, having my son when he was born, my first son, Cadian, I finally understood what it meant when God put down his only son, Jesus, for the world, because he truly loved us and he truly loved the son. And that's when I was like, all right, I understand what God means now. Because before you're like, all right, you put on your only son, but that was you, right? So it's kind of like, does it really mean anything?
Right.
But I can't imagine my son going through what Jesus went for the entire world, right? If someone were to mess with my son and, did everything that he went through, I would have killed you, smite you, cursed you and
as
your
a father,
family,
right.
I
will bring down hell.
I will bring down brimstone, and and so I think that's what kind of really opened me up spiritually.
Interesting.
That sacrifice,
Yeah.
and then that kind of opened up this, this rabbit hole of figuring out what love truly means. And there was a moment where I was a high school counselor after college.
Oh, wow.
So I was a high school counselor for Title I students. That's students that aren't financially, supported and everything like that. So
Okay.
there was all these students that I had, and there was this one student that just did not pay attention to me, didn't listen to me, and I tried every single possibility of communication to understand why he wasn't listening to me. And this is a big eye-opener for me, was that I found out what love was because of this kid. And because at the very end, I tried some stuff, and he started listening to me, and I asked him. I straight up asked him, I was like, well, what happened? At first, you didn't care about me. You thought whatever. And then he said, it's because I knew that you cared about me. And I was like, why? Because you yelled at me. I was like, what? Why does it matter that I yelled at you? And then I found out that his parents used to yell at each other all the time. And they said they loved each other.
Oh, wow.
So his definition of love came from his parents. And when that idea came to me, it's like an epiphany that it doesn't matter how the world defines love. Our love is defined by our parents.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like,
that's really interesting.
And then I went down this, and I started doing a lot of studies on that, when you see your mom and your dad, and they say they love each other, and then they start throwing stuff at each other, that's love. And that will be defined as you, because your parents are your gods. And then it comes out, and I read this study that, our parents are our gods when we're kids because they provide everything. They provide you life. They provide you punishment. They provide you sadness and all that stuff. And so our vision of our God, whatever God you might believe in, Jesus Christ, is that that relationship with that God is your relationship with what you want with your parents.
Interesting.
So somebody's like, if you ask somebody, well, who's God to you? And they're like, oh, he's my best friend, or he's my father, or he's my disciplinarian, or he's whatever. Right. Some people fear God. Some people love God. That is your parent.
Interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that a trip?
Yeah. That's really good. I can see how we make that connection.
Yeah.
right? And just the definition of love, because if you're exposed to people saying they love each other and yet they're just at each other,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty profound stuff. So, your role as a dad, how is the Catholic faith, influencing you?
Catholic faith, I enjoy the Catholic faith because of the disciplinary of it, behind it. I like going into the church and having a place where it's not about a time to be having fun, right? It's a time to worship. It's a time to kneel before your God, because there is a time for respect.
Mm.
And as crazy as I am, I'm a super extrovert. I'm wild and I'm crazy, and I love rules. I love guidelines, and I love that there's a time and a place for everything, right?
Interesting, yeah.
Because when people talk about immaturity, right? You think of immaturity. People talk about, oh, that person's immature. And then I've thought about that. Well, why does it make it immature? Like, what makes it immature? To me, immaturity is not acting the situation. Right? So if you cannot blend into the situation, to me, that's immaturity. So if you're at a party, you can't let loose, that's immaturity.
Interesting.
See, a lot of people think that, oh, they're mature, but I don't think that is. Because the ability...
They're boring,
right? So
yeah.
so when I realized that there is a fine line between maturity and immaturity, that's what I really admire about my Catholic faith, and that's what I try to instill into my sons, is that there is a time and a place for everything. There is a time for discipline. There is a time for play. But the maturity of it is knowing when to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids going to a bounce house and not wanting to jump in there and going crazy, because that's not the mature thing to do, right? And that's how society is teaching us.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at that. Yeah.
So that's kind of, so I think that's what the Catholic faith is taught.
We're in for some deep talk today, by the way. This is how we talk at work.
This is how we talk. This is the best way to go at it.
That's awesome. So you talked about, are there any other traditions? You talked about like going to church regularly. That's kind of a tradition. Are there any other traditions that, that enter into your faith? I don't know if...
we prayed a lot.
Yeah, okay.
We prayed a lot. We played the rosary, and then we prayed at night. My mom made sure we did that. We always got together and pray. And I do implement that. So when I'm with my sons, I pray with them before we go to bed. Just kind of creating that, I guess you would say, ritual or tradition like that. Just so we pray before we
part
eat.
of the routine.
Yeah, part of the routine, just trying to build that habit. And I think that habit, the reason for me habit is so important, and I guess goes back to the Catholic, that habit and ritual, it brings peace in a world of chaos.
Yeah. That's the order that we need, right, to balance out the chaos.
Yes,
right.
And I truly believe that people that are OCD is because the world around them is so hectic and they need some type of control.
Yeah.
We all need some routine. It's like in anything, right? Like, let's say you have a workout routine and you're not keeping consistent with it, you're not going to get where you need to go. And I think in a world full of chaos, you need control.
Yeah. That structure.
Yep.
Workout's a good one. Yep. Show up on time. We do the right exercises.
Yep, exactly. Some days you don't feel it, some days you do.
Yeah.
But it's just that routine.
But we do it anyway.
Yep.
And then hearing how you kind of had that structure when you were younger, and then you ran into some really dark times, but came back to that structure again.
It provided peace.
Yeah.
Comfort, that ritual, that tradition.
Yeah. That's awesome, because we need to know what we can hang our hat on.
Yes.
Right?
What I'm starting to hear, so I've heard this from a friend years ago, that was kind of blew my mind, where I asked her, are you going to teach your kids your faith? She was a Christian.
Yeah.
And she goes, no. I'm like, why? Well, I want them to have a choice. I want them to choose. If they don't like it, they can choose where they want to go. And at the time, I was like, okay, whatever. I don't want to get into it, real heated about that. But to me is, as children, do we ever choose anything, right? As kids, we're
like gender?
Yeah. I want to be a cat today.
Right. But your faith is another one of those.
Yeah, so a lot of people are saying they don't want to put that. But you know what? If you're not choosing your kid's faith, someone's going to choose it for you. Either their teachers or their friends or their social media or the internet. Someone's going to choose your kid's faith for them. So it might as well be the parents.
Yeah.
So you're forcing something good on them.
Because you're establishing something.
You're establishing something. You got to
Right.
establish some type of foundation.
Yeah. That's really good. As our kids are older, and you're reminding me of the time when my son came to me, who said, "Your God's not my God." And I hugged him. I said, "Congratulations, you're owning your faith."
Nice.
Right? That's what we want our kids to do. I said, "By the way, I came to a similar situation. My dad was Jewish. I'm a Christian. So I didn't follow my dad, right? I respected him, but I didn't follow him. And so, yes, your kids need to own their own faith, but they need to know what it even means,
Yes.
right? And so you have an opportunity to, so they are going to ride on your faith. So if you're doing nothing, they're riding on that,
Yes.
right? They're riding on you, the whims of your life. And there's just something about whatever your faith is, having that discipline that you talked about, showing up week after week, being part of a community, and saying, this is who we are, this is what we do. And as you get older, you may do something else. But this is, as for me in my house, I'm going to serve the Lord.
Yes.
Right? And I think there's something real powerful. By the way, my son came back.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
congrats on
So that was at about 18. And the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go, and they will not depart from it. Another really good verse. It was in you, instilled by your parents,
Yes.
right? And you want to do the same with your kids.
You got to think about it, though, right? So going back to the friend that said she didn't want to do that, I think as parents or adults or even humans as whatever, we have to think about why we don't, right? So then I think about, well, why wouldn't you want to do it? It's like asking someone, why don't you discipline your kid?
Yep.
It as easy as it comes down to, it's lazy. It takes hard work to instill anything.
Ouch.
You know, and
Did you just feel that smash? That was magical.
That's a magical burn. That's a magical burn. It's like,
got you.
got you. But yeah, if you think about it, and the reason why I go into that is every time I discipline my boys or whatever I need to do, I always tell myself, am I doing it for them or am I doing it for me, right? So, you know, people are saying, oh, like, you know, man, I'm getting into some very controversial stuff about, like, oh, the cry-out method and stuff like that. And, like, are you doing it because you need sleep? Or are you doing it because you want them to be independent? There's a difference between that positive and every action.
There you go.
You know, and I feel like there's a lot of, again, no judgment, but I feel like there's a lot of people out there that do certain things because they're not trying to raise their kid to be independent. They're raising their kid to be independent from them, which is different.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Because they don't want to deal with that anymore.
Or obedient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, these are the same people that years down the line, they're like, oh, my kid never wants to hang out with me. Well, did you ever want to hang out with them?
Yeah.
Right. And then I see a lot of, again, you know, I see a lot of young parents or even older parents, whatever, they're on their phone, they're talking to their kids and all that stuff. And then there's like half giving them attention, right? You're kind of half-assing it. And to me, it's like,
yeah, put the phone down.
Put the phone down, right? Because then in the future, they're not going to listen to you because you did that to them. They learn what we teach them.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so it's like, so I see that a lot, and it's like, come on, just put it down. Give them 100% attention.
That's good.
You know,
You reminded me of something. I'm gonna say it here just because it was really helpful for me to understand. Because you've used two words, discipline, and earlier I think you said punishment. So, and we were just talking about the intent.
yeah,
Right? What's the intent behind it? So punishment, the intent behind it is they need to pay their dues. And so there's a consequence. Okay. But I'm instilling the consequence. That's punishment. Discipline is you screwed up. Let's get back in there and try again. It's correction. And the punishment or the consequence is a natural consequence of the thing. Right?
Yeah.
So as my kids got older, what I realized was I don't need to be the consequence. My wife and I had a lot of discussions about this. Like my daughter smashed the car or got a speeding ticket. Well, she's going to pay the speeding ticket.
Yeah.
Like, do I need to ground her too?
Yeah.
Like, why put me on that side of it
Mm-hmm.
when I can just join her and go, oh, I'm so sorry, sweetie.
I totally agree on that.
Sorry, right? Sorry you smashed your car. sorry you got 2 speeding tickets now. That must suck.
Yep. That's it.
That's it.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I feel like I don't use the word the world, but everyone gets their dues, right?
Right.
There's no reason to. It's because I hate it when I do something wrong and they're like, "Oh yeah, you did something wrong." I was like, "No way, bro. I know I did something wrong. I don't need you to double tell me. I already feel it.
Right.
I got to do whatever." So.
Yeah, so we think about Jesus being grace, and there's a problem if you're only grace, but Jesus is God, and God is also the law. And so the law, I say the law is like the scale I have in the bathroom. I stand on the scale, there's the number. This scale is judging me. It's the judge.
Judging your Fritos.
Right, yeah, it is the judge. Is it mad at me? No, the scale's not mad at me.
Yeah.
It's just the judge. And so who's judging who? Is God judging us? Or is he just the scale? Right?
Yeah.
And he's not mad at you. He's just the scale.
Yeah.
It is what it is. He's saying, don't kill. Don't don't put other gods before me. What does that mean? You're a huge egomaniac God? No, it just means that if you will put this as the highest thing in your life, then you'll have it in the right order.
Yep.
That's the scale, right? So when I think about family, families, what's the ideal? The ideal is husband, wife, together, have kids. That's the ideal. To say anything else is ideal isn't actually an accurate statement. It's in some form or another, it's just harder, no matter what. Doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah.
It just means it's harder to be a single parent. It's harder.
Yep.
There's no question. To be gay, try having a kid. It's harder.
Really hard.
Right? Yeah. So it's just harder.
Yeah.
So again, God's not judging. He's just saying, there's the scale.
Yep.
And if you want to have a legacy and you want to continue as a species, guy and a girl get together, have a baby.
Yep.
Take care of it. Right? And we'll continue.
Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully, right? Even
Maybe.
that's hard enough.
Even that's hard enough. We're always killing each other off. and
Right?
Stuff.
Yeah. So, it doesn't make any sense to be mad at the scale or just say, well, the scale doesn't exist. And it's like, well, it does.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I think I've come to realize that if someone doesn't believe in a God, like just any God, or let's just say Jesus Christ is our God, that if someone doesn't believe, they don't believe with facts. They don't believe because of facts. They don't believe because of heart. I think even if you can prove to someone that, Jesus Christ existed, and died and came back and resurrected, they'd be like, well, give me more facts. I don't think, and because majority of people don't want to believe in a God, because why would you want to? Like, when you really think about it, right? If you really thought about it, would I want to believe in a God? Because once I believe in this God, that means I can't be myself.
I got to do it.
I got to do it.
Yeah.
There's an actual mirror in front of me that
That's
shows
the
me,
scale.
Yeah, that shows me who I am.
This is what I'm saying. It's the scale.
It's the scale. Like, so what? Like, if you think about it, if I wasn't a Christian and someone said, "Hey, man, I got a God for you," why would I want to? I'm like, I don't want to listen to you. I like the way I live. I don't want someone to judge me. I don't want someone to give me right or wrong or give me consciousness. I don't want to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at the mirror at myself.
Yes.
You know, and so it makes sense, right? So that I feel like that's where we are with people, believers and non-believers, is because why would you want to?
Yeah.
Right. And then,
Good stuff.
you know, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, that's great. I'm going to shift gears here real
Sure.
quick and just talk about work-life balance, because you're a dad. You got 2 young kids. You get a full-time job. I know you got a lot of other outside activities that you like to do. So how do you kind of balance your work responsibilities with your role as a father and a commitment to your faith?
Easy, Mike. Let me tell you exactly how to do that. You just you don't sleep. You know, I mean,
That's what goes.
That's all you do. You know, sleep's overrated, right?
That's so funny.
Sleep's overrated. No, my first son, he didn't sleep through the night for the first 15 months.
Oh, wow.
He had night terrors. They were horrible. I would pick him up and walk with him for 2 to 3 hours a day, every night for about 15 months. I did not have a good night's sleep about 15 months.
Oh, man.
You know,
That's rough.
and
Did you split that duty with your wife,
no,
or that
it
was your
just
role?
me. It was
Yeah.
my role. The moment that he got off, he was go on formula. It was just on me.
Yeah.
Because I was able to operate that way. She couldn't.
Right.
Which is, everybody's thresholds are different. And I just came up with these scenarios in my head. Like, I held my son. I was like, all right, we're going through the desert. There's bombs going.
Telling him stories.
Yeah, like, I got you.
I
It's you
can
and
see
me,
you doing
son. So I would come up with these to keep me going,
Yeah.
But honestly, I looked at it as like we're always watching these movies, right? We go and watch these Mission Impossible movies, and we watch all this stuff, and the hero goes to these, go near death, and how can he save the world, and blah, blah, and me get there. And then I put myself in that situation, and I go, I always want to be a hero, but can I be a hero if I'm already complaining about this? So a lot.
Oh, wow.
If
I'm already complaining about this.
already complaining about
What
this.
kind of pansy am I?
What kind of pansy am I? Would Arnold complain about that?
Yeah, that's
no,
funny.
He wouldn't. Only in Kindergarten Cop he'd complain. No, but so I put myself in these situations. I grew up like watching comic books and movies, sci-fi and all that stuff. And
Were you scarred for not seeing a Vietnamese person in those?
No. Have you seen the acting on us? I'm kidding. No, it was on that topic.
Sorry. There's a squirrel. We've already talked about this. So that's
No, I think it's a fun topic that a lot of people get really upset about, like not having their race, on a certain movie or something like that. I'm like, come on. I was like, to me is, if I'm gonna write a book and I want Jacob to be like an Asian dude or whatever, then it's my book. If you have a problem with it, you write your own book.
Write your own book.
Write your own book, dang it, and then if you have a movie that you're, having characters of your own, then if you're upset, don't watch it. Why is everyone complaining?
That's funny. All right, I'd sidetrack you.
No
Bring it back.
and last statement on that, just to let everyone hear this. I always wanted to be Superman, Spider-Man, and RoboCop growing up. And not once did I say, oh, I can't be them because my eyes are different,
Yeah.
So to me, as prejudice and the segregation, all this stuff is taught.
Yeah.
We're not naturally like that. So when I'm talking to my boys, when I say, hey, who are you hanging out with today? They don't go, oh, my black friend or my Mexican friend.
All right.
No, they just go, my friend, he has weird hair or, for sure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
Sorry,
No, that's good stuff.
But what was that? What were we talking about?
Action heroes.
Action
And we were talking about work, faith, life balance.
Yes,
we'll have to go back and replay.
Oh.
Yeah.
The son, walking with the son, how to manage that. Just sacrifice, and just, I think that's the one thing.
Late nights, I remember now.
Late nights.
Yes.
Lots of late nights. And here's something that I always tell myself that my wife loves, is that I tell myself, if I don't do it, she will have to. And I always tell myself that. So it's either the dishes, either the laundry, either you name it. I tell myself, if I don't do it, someone else will have to, and that would be my wife. So am I man enough to do it, or am I going to let my wife handle it?
Wow, we're going to have to replay this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to mark this one with some applause.
You know, thank
Yeah.
you. You know, and
All the wives are going to want to hear this.
Thank you.
No, that's good though.
You know, that's the way I think about it. If I'm strong enough, I never want to be weak. You know, I never want to be. I want her to look up to me as a hero, as the man in her life. And I see a lot of dudes like, oh, that's a wife's job. Why is it a wife's job to take care of your kid, to raise your kid? To me, that takes both, right?
Yeah.
And I think going back to the intent, majority of the dudes that are like, oh, my wife's going to do that, whatever, that's just because they're lazy.
Yeah.
You know?
I heard it said this way once along those lines. If you want to be a king, treat your spouse as a queen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So true. And I think that's how I made it.
Not as the maid, not
the cook.
Not the cook.
You know, not the cleaner. And I think that's how I'm surviving. Honestly, I have an amazing wife. I have an amazing partner. We're a great team, you know, and I think that's what helps me out to being a dad, that she understands.
Yeah.
And also that she understands that I am sacrificing so much, because she knew me before I became a dad. I was a party guy, was extrovert, loved hanging out with friends, did everything you could think of. But the moment I started having kids, I just took out everything to focus on them, you know. And because of that, she sees like, okay, well, he does this when I'm too tired to. He does that when da-da-da. So then, I think it's a give and take.
You're a team. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, like...
Let's not both be down the same day.
Yeah, if someone's down, raise them up, and just kind of work.
Come on, we got this.
Exactly. So he was, come on, we got this.
That's good.
And it goes with that, Adam and Eve's. I heard this before on a podcast by Father Mike Schmitz. So he talked about Adam and Eve, that were why did God take the bone out of Adam's rib for Eve? Because
why?
Because she's on the side of him, not on top of him, not from below him, and it's in his rib because his arm is always around her.
Oh wow, cool. Yeah, I like it.
So so that's where a woman should be.
Stems from
the man.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So I want to talk to you just about our work environment real quick. We work at a nonprofit organization. It's a Christian organization. So how's that experience been for you?
Man, it's I've realized that denominations don't like Catholics.
The non-denominations?
Yeah, no, like Protestants.
Protestants,
man, it's just when you tell someone you're a Catholic, they're like, oh my gosh, like, why are you a Catholic? Do you know what your people did? Like, yeah, I know the history. It's like, but it's so interesting, right? Because if someone goes up to someone and goes, "Man, I'm a Methodist," no one's gonna be like, "What?" They're like, "Okay, whatever, that's cool." I'm a Lutheran. Oh, that's cool. But man, the moment you say you're a Catholic, people just attack you left and right.
Interesting.
But the great thing, what I've learned from that is that the bulk of Christian denominations, we all strive and believe in the same thing. We all believe that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior and our salvation. And that is the bulk of all the Christian religions. So to me is, if we were all hungry and God was going to give us food, he would give us our macros, proteins, carbs, and fats, right? So I'm not going to go up to someone and be like, well, why do you like your hamburger like that? Why do you like tomatoes on your hamburger? Oh, you want
Don't major on the minors.
Yeah, it's like we fight on these very minor things, and we're like, well, you should go to my church. You should go to my church. My church is the best. Oh, I love Caesar salad. Whatever. It's like, it's like, to me, is we're fighting for no reason, and we all believe in the same thing.
Yeah.
We nitpick at each other, but that I think
it's the atheists we need to be ganging up on.
No, they're the ones that we should be hanging out with, right? They're the ones that need us the most.
Yeah.
But it's so intriguing, and that's what I've learned, being in
how judgmental we are. I'm so sorry. Okay.
No, but you know what I realized though? I think it's like with any type of title that you have, it makes you more judgmental of
Mm.
other people that have the same title. So, for example,
You mean Catholics to Catholics? Or?
Catholics to Catholics. Or
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
like, I see Catholic, I'm like, look at that Catholic. They're doing that right, you know, like, and then I see another Asian dude, right? I see an Asian dude, I was like, I see him, like, you see it on a news thing where an Asian dude gets caught, whatever. You know what Asians would do normally? I'd just let him burn. Really? Because
Whoa.
we're like, why are you going to embarrass us?
Ah,
Why are you going to embarrass us? You know, majority of us don't do that. Or
yeah.
someone made like a B minus on his test. Oh, dude, we don't
What?
know.
Tiger Mom's coming out.
What you made a B? I don't know you. No,
Yeah.
but it's true. Like, so whatever title, and I've thought about it. Any title that we have makes us feel like we have some ownership of it. Even as a dad, right?
Yeah, yeah.
As a dad, we see another dad do something because we're that title. We have the authority to talk and critique another dad.
Oh,
And that's
interesting.
how it is as Christians. Oh, because we're Christian, we have the authority to judge other Christians because we are one.
Right.
So I think Christians are probably more, you know, and
Uh,
if you think about it, the majority of atheists that are judgmental were pre-Christians that became atheists. So that gives them the authority that I was Christian, so I'm allowed to judge what you are and should not be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Meaning that atheists were Christians, or meaning
Yeah, majority of atheists were Christians.
they've left.
They've left.
Yeah.
They've left because of something that's happened in their life. Majority of atheists know Scripture better than most Christians.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting.
It is interesting.
But yeah, I think that's the dynamic at work that I've really learned to kind of be chilled with and kind of understand, have some patience with it, you know, because at first I'm like, well, what, you know, we step back, step back a little bit. But now I'm understanding, like, well, you know, they're coming in from their point of view, and hopefully
It's a mix, right?
Yeah, it's a mix, you know.
Yep.
But honestly, I love where we're at because you cannot find this mixture in the world, right? You can't go to a church that has a whole bunch of different denominations. You
Right.
can't go to a library or you know, anywhere. Our organization, where you have a pro-Christian organization with so many different denominations, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You can never have that type of.
Yeah, it is, because it's the spectrum of Christianity. Cool. So just I want to talk about some tips and tricks.
Sure.
Tips and tricks.
Tips and tricks. All
Time
right.
for- Yeah, there we go.
That's right.
Tips and tricks.
Tips and tricks.
So how about some parenting hacks that you swear by?
Parenting hacks. All right. All right. Here's something that I say to make sure that I don't go ballistic on my kids. I tell myself, one day you'll miss this.
One day you'll miss this. Give me an example of like when
For-
that pops out of your mouth.
Or I tell myself that.
Oh, you tell yourself
I
that.
tell
Okay.
myself that so I don't like
Oh,
bring their
gotcha.
heads,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You know, so like, you know, they're right on the wall, right? You just
Mm.
want to blow their, you know, it's like, oh, you're gonna scream and throw you across the wall. I tell myself, one day I'll miss this.
Wow, that's powerful.
You know, or like they're
Yeah.
like they're like causing a mess, toys, you're stepping on toys and all this stuff. And I tell myself, one day I'm gonna miss this.
Yep.
One day it's gonna be gone, pretty much.
That's so true.
You know, so just absorb it. Just remember that, and not everything's forever, and just enjoy the moment because they're gonna grow up and you're not gonna be cool one day, so they're not gonna want to hang out with you.
That's true.
So just
That's better than what I used to say.
what you said.
I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. One day I missed that. So that's a lot more powerful. I like that better.
Thank you. Hopefully, yeah.
That's
So
good.
that's the one thing. Let's see. Another hack would be. We've talked about this. I've been actually using it more often. So this is the best trick for everyone listening to this out there. Trust me. If you ever want to lighten the situation,
Mhm.
do a sound effect. Promise you it works. Because for some odd reason, when you do a sound effect, it makes the situation just more light. So when I'm talking with my boys and they're getting crazy, I go, "Eh," or just throw something like, "Rah," and they'll be like, it just lightens the mood. And I've tried this with other situations, even with adults. When you do it, it just makes the situation so much more light because not everything's so serious. You know, the world's so serious. So when you put in a sound effect, I guess it makes it play.
Yeah.
I think, you know, we've.
Yeah, that's why I've been
spoken
having
about-
fun with the board. Like, I don't know what that one does. Oh, there we go.
Oh my God.
It's a mystery.
Is that my DoorDash?
Could be DoorDash. Yeah, so the power of sound effects in changing the mood instantly.
Yes, like just that one.
Yeah.
It's a sound effect. It just changed our mood,
Yeah.
right?
But you can do it yourself like you did, like ba-da-doom.
Yeah, but
whatever.
or just like anything, you know, if you so you get really good at bebopping or like, wait,
Nice.
that's a water drop for
Nice.
for those that haven't seen, you know.
All right, so what advice would you give somebody that's a new dad?
Have time for yourself. Have some time for yourself. No. Just even if you feel like you don't need it, or just try. Just sit in your car for 10 minutes before going in. You know, just take that moment for yourself, because I think as dudes, we need a little bit of time for ourselves to break and just relax.
Mm.
And when you're going in a situation, remember that your wife or your significant other, whoever it may be that's helping you with the children, are going through hard times too. And that as tired as you are, know that you're not a pansy.
Yeah.
And that if you are a man and if you think you're a hero, then act like it. Stop, bitching and stop complaining and just deal with it, you know. And I know in this secular world, I know nowadays we talk about our own happiness, right? But if you look at every movie, every book, every story you've ever read, the hero doesn't think about himself. He thinks about everyone around him. So that's what you need to do.
Mm.
Be the hero of your own story. If you're going to write your own book, if you don't like how the chapter's ending, write a new chapter, become the character that you want to be, and don't be a bitch.
Yeah.
Just overcome, and I promise you, people will want to read your book.
Yeah.
You know, so that's my, and I guess I've been blessed and lucky that I love superheroes, and I've read comic books my entire life, but I strive to be a hero. And now that I have, people that actually look up to me like I'm a hero, like my sons and my wife,
Yeah.
then I can finally live out being a hero.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's great advice. I think, I was envisioning as you were talking, like a tough day at work, a lot of stuff going on. You're pulling into the driveway. You're about to walk in the house. And it's like, this is why I called this podcast Dad Mode. Like, you got to turn off work mode and turn on Dad Mode. And to do that shift, if you need to sit in your car for 5 more minutes, or you need to be saying a prayer,
Yeah.
right? Or if your wife has called you like mine did and said, okay, it's DEFCON 1 with this child, DEFCON 3 with this child, and this one needs a spanking upstairs.
And I would have been like, so hold on, could you explain DEFCON 2 again?
What is it?
Which one's this one again?
Yeah, right? I'm like, oh, okay. I get to go home and administer discipline.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, that's fun. Can I just say hi and wrestle first?
Yeah,
or,
can I just,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, so you got to be prepared. You got to make that shift. And I love what you said about story, because we're always living in a story.
Yeah.
So what story are you manifesting?
Exactly. Oh, this is a funny question that one of my professors from college asked me. He said, what is the biggest difference between a real life and a fictional story, a book or a movie? All of us answered questions like, oh, whatever the characters and blah, 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 blah. He said the biggest difference is that one's still going and one stopped. And he was like, and I was like, well, what's the point of that? Because until something has an end, it doesn't have meaning. Because when you read a book,
Oh, wow.
or you watch a movie, the last 2 minutes can change the entire movie.
Yeah, it brings everything together.
Brings everything together.
Yeah.
So people that are always searching for the meaning of life, don't search for it. You'll never find it. You only find it the moment you die.
Yeah. It's in the end.
It's in the end. So instead of trying to find it, create the meaning. You're still living in that
Wow, I
moment.
love that. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah, that's Dr. Frank DeFore. So he's a great professor. But yeah, so that's ever since that moment, I tell myself, you're still writing your story. And I always go back to that writing because God's provided us, the book, and he's and as, so this is before I was a Christian, more dived into it. I always thought about we're writing our own stories. And when you write down, you get to choose which characters are in your book. You get to choose what happens in every story. Because if you truly think about it, you wake up and you go to sleep in your eyes every day. It doesn't matter how much you believe that you can go and walk in someone else's shoes. You only wake up in your eyes. You go to sleep tonight, you're going to wake up in your eyes. This is your story. So if you don't like the way it's going, whose fault is it? Yours. 100%.
Yeah.
If you don't like the people in your life, why is it? Because you're writing them in there. If you don't like the way things are going, it's because you're writing yourself that way. It's literally like, Mike Tobias got up angry today. Mike Tobias woke up with energy because he saw the world in a different eye view.
Yeah, love it. We're editing our own story.
Editing our own story as we go.
Yeah.
So people that are, if you're having a hard day or your life's not going your way, just rewrite it. That's all you have to do.
And it's so crazy because it is a decision.
Yes.
Right? And I'm just connecting a parallel here, and this is a little bit mind-blowing to me as you're talking, because I think some people have trouble believing that they can just believe in Jesus and be saved. Like there's no work to do.
Oh, yep. A lot of them.
Well, what you're talking about is the exact same thing. Edit your story. Just believe differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so that's why it works. You see, it is what is the focus of our attention, and what are we putting in the highest place?
Yes.
Right? And so we're writing our story. And so, yes, we are the hero of our own story. You want to be the hero. The Bible says that God is the author and finisher of our faith. So we're writing this story, and your story is filled with faith. The faith is either I'm going to be miserable or I'm going to come out ahead.
That's right.
Right? And so choose wisely.
Yes, yes. And I love it that you jumped on that there are a lot of, I've met like, just pray, right? Just pray and just don't do anything about it, right? And I'm like, come on. And so this is my own personal belief that, God has given us everything we need to make our lives amazing. He's already given us the book that tells us exactly how to live. He's given us our skills, the ability to think. Just that in itself gives us the ability to change our lives. So we're there's nothing wrong with this, but those that are constantly praying these prayers and saying, hey, help me, God, but then they sit back and drink their Coke and sit back on the TV. I want to lose weight, when they're like eating a hamburger or whatever. It's like you have all the gifts and resources around you that God has already provided for you. Just look around and pick it up.
Yeah.
God didn't make you lazy, right? And I think that laziness is instilled in a lot of us, and it breaks down in not just like physical laziness, but mental laziness, emotional laziness. People are they want everything handed to them, and then even bravery. People are too lazy to be brave because it takes initiative, courageous conversations. People don't want to talk to people about their faith because they're lazy.
Well, I don't want the controversy.
Yeah, I don't want that problems. Like people don't want to stir up the pot, right?
Yeah.
Even if they're putting the right ingredients in the pot, because it's too much work. But yeah, that's my thoughts on.
Yeah, interesting. That's good. Let's see. I was going to ask you, can you share a particular memorable moment you had as a father that encapsulates the essence of God-written goals?
Let's see, a moment where it encapsulates God-written goals.
Yeah. So,
can I buy a vowel or a?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can buy a vowel.
Can I buy a vowel?
So,
call a friend?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I think about this question, you know, it would be either along the lines of how you had to seek God because you're in a situation where there's just, I don't have the answer.
Gotcha.
Right. Or grit that you just fought through it. And you shared a little bit of that when just being up late at night. Right.
Yeah.
Or goals. Something maybe that you had set for yourself and accomplished as a dad or are thinking about now.
Okay. God, grit, and goals.
Yeah. So any one of those.
I think this is that. It's not as extreme as like taking care of the kids or anything like that. But so I'm 38, and I've always wanted to do a handstand, right?
There you go.
And I started trying it almost 2 years ago, and I've been working on it. And then after a certain point, I was like, man, I'm just wasting my time. But my sons are around, and I told them if I gave up, they're going to see their dad giving up.
Mm.
You know, because they see me practice at home. And so literally now I'm at it going, one day I'm going to get it. And then they're going to see the transition of me working on it every day. And then I want them to say, Daddy did this for a long time and he learned it.
He did it. Yeah.
You know,
that's awesome. That's grit.
You know, that's just,
Yeah.
Because how many people can say, and I've never done something like this for such a long period of time where it was such slow progress. You know, just
the worst.
Progress. You know, and I think that's a big one because I'm literally doing it for them now because I don't want them to see Daddy as someone that gave up.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Great example.
You know, and you know, I mean,
you're challenging yourself.
Yes,
right?
I'm close to my 40s, and I'm still trying to learn new stuff. You
Yeah,
know? I mean, I'm not gonna.
And it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
So yeah, I think that's not the most motivational one, but you know what?
No, it is. I think it's a perfect example because you've included your kids with it, and they've motivated you, and you're continuing to put yourself. I think that's a good thing about setting a goal is you got to put yourself in harm's way if you don't make it.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So another cool thing is my youngest one, he's starting to do the handstand against the wall now. So he sees me do it so much, so he's doing it.
Yeah.
Now. So I'm thinking maybe everything that I've done, he can do it in 1 month or 2 months because of the efforts that I tried, you know?
For sure.
So people always talk about sins.
And you're like, I could do it if I was that light.
If I was that light, if I was 4 years old, I could do it, you know?
You're not doing nothing.
Because, you know, people talk about sins of the Father, but people don't talk about the gifts of the Father.
Ooh.
I think
that's good.
That's what I'm trying to leave a legacy, not just of money, but of gifts.
Yeah.
Skills.
Well, this has been awesome. Covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Covered a lot of ground. And anything else that you'd like to share or?
Man, we could go on for hours. This is like another Tuesday morning for us. So yeah, we could go down so many holes. I mean, we'll save it for another.
We'll save it for another time.
We'll save it once you're like, you know, this is blown up.
Yeah, well,
you
no.
know.
Yeah. So, Guy, I want to thank you for coming in.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Got a beautiful family, an amazing background. I really enjoy working with you, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you. And about the background, I mean, it's your house. It's a good background.
Here we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are out of here. Thanks, everyone. Thanks you for participating. And if you want to hear more like this, please subscribe. Have a great day. We love you.
Do it.